Alright, welcome to this second video of a three-part series videos regarding the EDI functionality within the Blue Seer software application. The first video looked at the mapping tool and the mapping editor that is provided with Blue Seer and some of the maps. The second video here, this video will be regarding the partner setups, transaction, partner association, and then document recognition rules so that the engine can recognize the document that it's trying to process. And then the third video will be about processing and reporting. Okay, with the second video, this video, we're going to be looking at primarily three main menus. The EDI Partner Maintenance menu, where you establish your trading partner and any alias IDs, trade IDs, or communication IDs for that partner. The second menu is regarding partner transaction maintenance, so that'll be associating a trading partner with the transaction documents that they will be providing. And then the third menu is document recognition maintenance, where you allow inform the engine of what rules are necessary to recognize non-X12 and non-EDIFACT type documents such as CSVs or delimited file formats, XML, JSON, or positional files like iDocs. Blue Seer now supports 6 different formats. It supports X12, EDIFACT, which you do not need document recognition rules for because the engine automatically processes those. CSV are delimited files. Flat files, they're also called positional files, and iDoc falls within this classification. Then XML files and JSON files. Now the Blue Seer code for each one of these types and the document types are all relative to the X12 superset. The 850, for example, a sales order, or 850 is a sales order or purchase order of CSV format is known as an 850 CSV. If it's an iDoc orders 05 type document, it's considered an 850 iDoc. If it's an XML sales order, the code for that is 850 XML. So this is the nomenclature that Blue Seer uses to recognize document types, and it's all a superset or all a subset of the X12 superset. Okay, with that said, let's go ahead and get started with the first menu that we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at EDI Partner Maintenance. Address, EDI Partner Maintenance. And this is a very simple menu. Essentially, you're creating an arbitrary code to establish what your trading partner, establish a code that represents your trading partner, your EDI trading partner. So we're going to create a fictional company called some company. Click New, and this code is going to be SomeCo. And the description is going to be some company EDI. And then for an alias ID, which it could be their ISA sender ID or their GS sender ID or some other ID, we're going to create SomeCo123, and we're going to use that as their default. You can click Add Item, and then click Add. And now the record has been established here. These two are there by default. Okay, so now you have you created your COM code for your parent company for your some company EDI, and you created one alias for it. The company can have more than one alias. It can have multiple aliases, depending on the type of, depending on the business and what their needs are as well. Okay, so that's the partner maintenance. Let's go to EDI Partner Transaction Maintenance. And here's where you associate the transactions that your trading partner will be sending you with that code you just created in Partner Maintenance. So if you click New, you will see that that code is created here within the drop-down selection box. And we're going to choose that. And then we're going to simulate receiving an 850 CSV order. So a sales order in CSV format, SomeCo will be transmitting to you. So let's choose 850 CSV. So we're sending a CSV file of an orders type. Our receiver ID is going to be just us, and it's arbitrary. We're going to call it Blue Seer, and I'll inform you why it's arbitrary in just a second when we look at documentation or document recognition rules. There's only one type of map for this doc type that comes by default with Blue Seer, and it's CSV to 850. So what this is going to do is once that CSV file is loaded, the engine translation is going to take it and translate that to an 850X12 type. The output type being 850X12, and the inbound type is defined here as well. Okay, the sender ID, we're going to want that to be sumco123, which is what we set up in as the alias ID in the partner maintenance menu. And then you don't have to put a qualifier there. Now this information is primarily to recognize the inbound file. There's an outbound tab as well. And since we're creating an 850 outbound file, the delimiters are important here. So we're going to choose the delimiters for the 850 to be standard stuff. I think asterisk is 42. Yeah, 42. So the element delimiter will be 42. Segment delimiter, we're going to make a new line. These have to be integers, by the way, in your delimiter fields. If you put like an X in there, tab out, it's going to indicate that you put in a non-numeric value. Subdelimiter, we're going to make it 62, which I think is greater than sign. It is. Okay, for the output file that we're generating, the 850, we're going to give it a prefix file. We're going to call it myprefix 850. And then for a suffix, we're going to give it txt. The file path can be used to override the default path that it would normally go into, which is defined by an EDI control file. So you can set a path here and it will override that control file. Versions arbitrary and supplier codes arbitrary. These fields here are primarily used for X12 and Edifact. If it was an 850 that we were getting in on the inbound, you could click this to create a 997 acknowledgement to go back to your trading partner. And then lastly, since this is an 850, you can override some of these ISA and GS tags or element tags with values that would override normally what you're getting on the inbound, or from this setting. So the receiver ID and our receiver ID and their sender ID. Their sender ID is going to go out on their ISA 08 for receiving the file. But you can override all that information here. Or if it's Edifact, you can override the UNB and UNH segments as well. Or tags, I should say. Okay, that's correct. Let's click Add. We've created that record. Let's make sure it's there. Okay, so we have a sum code. We're expecting to receive 850 CSVs from these guys. And we've created them in both the partner transaction maintenance and the partner maintenance. Now, the engine needs to be able to recognize anything other than an X12 or an Edifact. So a CSV, you do have to have document recognition rules for it. So document recognition is also in the EDI menu. And there's already default recognition rules here for CSV types, IDOCs, JSON, and XML for a wide variety of different type of documents. So for an order, a sales order, purchase order, however you look at it, there is an 850 CSV rules engine, an 850 IDOC rules, 850 JSON, and XML. We're going to be looking at the 850 CSV rule for now. And every rule essentially has a role of data or selection. The selection rule allows the engine to define if it satisfies this selection rule, then the engine will indicate that it is of type 850 CSV. But it has to satisfy all selection rules. For example, I think the 850 XML has 2 selection rules. Yes, they do. Both of these values in this root order header document type tag and an XPath for XML, this value needs to be there in order for this rule to be satisfied, so that as well as this one here. Once both of these selection rules are satisfied, it will recognize it as 850 XML. Let's go back to the 850 CSV. This file only has one selection rule, so it's expecting in row 1, column 1, for a comma delimited file, this field doubles as either the length for fixed or delimiter for delimited. The delimiter being a comma, the decimal value for a comma. So row 1, column 1 expects to find that value in column 1 of row 1. If it does, it finds it, it says this is an 850 CSV file, so it'll automatically process it. The other 2 rules, the data rules, are essentially to define tags. These are global variables used by the system. This is the receiver ID, and this is hard-coded as a constant, and the value provided here because value type is constant. This is different than this one. This is a variable, and it's expecting to find the sender ID inside the file at row 2, column 2. And I'll show you an example of that real quick. BlueSeer. Inside your BlueSeer parent directory is an EDI directory, a sample data directory, and here's a CSV file for a fictitious company called Acme. So this is our selection criteria in row 1, column 1, and that will satisfy that. And then in row 2, column 2, it is expecting to find this alias ID of Acme. And that'll be the sender ID. So I must have a trading partner with an alias set up as Acme, which I do because that comes with the default installation of BlueSeer. So that's the documentation, or document recognition rules that you have to create for anything but X12 and Edifact. Now we're going to look real quick at processing. Let me get the file here. We're going to actually load the CSV file, even though it's not for the company that we just set up. So we're going to have to put it in the inbound directory, EDIN. We're going to drop it there. We're going to load it. And it should load against the company called Acme. So refresh. And click there and you see our file. Click that. We're going to choose no delete archive because we want to be able to process this again. Click run. Address EDI log. And you will see that it loaded, but it loaded against partner Acme. We want it to load against partner Sumco, which is the partner we created in this simulation. So we're going to have to, since it's looking for it in the file, we're going to have to change the value in the file. So open with text editor. We're going to change this, since it's looking at row 2, column 2. Sumco, what do we call it? Sumco 123. File save. And we're going to try to load it again. Address, EDI, EDI load. Refresh. Oops, I don't want to toggle all. Refresh. Load. And run. And it should have loaded against our new trading partner. And it did. Okay, real quick, I'll show you that that's file view for the actual processing of the file. The document view has a little more information to it. It shows the inbound format, and it also shows the outbound format that you created from the translation map. And here's the X12 that we created from this inbound file. There were 4 line items in this file, and there should be 4 PO1 records in the X12-850, which there are. So you also notice that Sumco 123 is in the ISA sender and receiver IDs as well. So that's essentially creating a CSV file to a X12 file using the configuration menus, and how those configuration menus will impact the processing of the file at both the partner maintenance level, the partner transaction maintenance level, and then the document recognition rules. So with that said, that's it. Let's, by closing, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to the website, blueseer.com. There is a contacts page there with more information. All the downloads are there too, by the way. BlueSeer is a free and open source application. Feel free to download it and use it at your convenience. If you have any questions or concerns, send an email to support@blueseer.com, or you can go to the project source site. The source code is provided at github.com/blueseererp. And there is a discussion group there. You can also put in a ticket for any kind of problem that you may encounter. All right, thank you guys, appreciate it.